So in today's video, I want to, since it's a Sunday, and I'm trying to every Sunday do videos about how creating a magical home, because the environment that we spend the most time in, our homes, should be considered a sacred space. And especially if you're doing a lot of the work, your mantras, or any of the other practices that I teach, your environment should be in alignment with that. So the last video I talked about how, there's land and house spirits around that you can develop a relationship with. And so this one I want to talk about the objects in your home. So I try to buy things that are made by independent artists, or I try to make the objects myself. And the reason I do that is because when you make something personally with your hands, it creates a certain type of energy in the object. And if you've ever done anything creatively or painted or anything, you do go into like kind of altered state. So I feel like when you're doing that, you're really connecting with your free soul. And that's why you go into kind of an altered state. When you're working with these objects, you're kind of transferring your life force energy to it. And so you are giving it this life. And you hear stories about how people have like magic wands or magic swords, or things that seem like they have a power of their own. And that is because the owner of it developed a relationship with the object. And I have things, ancestral things. I have a cabinet that was built by my great-great-great-grandfather. And so I will never get rid of that he built it with his own hands. So those are special things. So if you can try to make the items yourself. When I did have my store, I taught people how to paint furniture. And there's some great old pieces of furniture out there. We have so much furniture that gets put in landfills every year, and it's perfectly good. And the older furniture is actually better made than mass-produced furniture. And most of the old furniture was built by hand. And so I used to sell a paint that was totally non-toxic, if anybody knows of the Annie Sloan chalk paint. And I used to teach people how to paint this furniture and bring it back to life and put it in their home. And it was really special. They really bonded with these pieces. They were so proud of these pieces. And so now they have them in their home. And there's been a really big resurgence of workshop classes of how to make things, and how to macrame, and how to sew, and how to do calligraphy, how to do flower arranging. And so it's coming back in. People want to not have so many objects that are made by robots or machinery, mass-produced, where it didn't have any intimate connection with the person making it. And it does feel like really cold and like it has no soul. And I refuse to sell products like that in my store because it just went against everything that I was about. And it does make a difference when you hold products that were mass-produced, one that was made by an artist, or I give a lot of people on Etsy a lot of business because it just has a different feeling to it. And so consider when just learning something, learning a new craft, or making something. If you need it, just make it yourself. And I use a lot of course, the most natural products that you can. And if I do buy a product, I actually, if I'm going to have it close around me or even use it, I do this with my runes, I did it with my tarot cards, I do it with anything that I bought that I didn't make myself. I actually consecrate it. I douse it with the four elements, and sometimes I sleep with the objects next to me so they can absorb my life force energy. And I bring in a lot of things from nature, and I put it in my house. And there's one thing that I want to address. And when I was doing interior design, I concentrated on sustainable design, or if you want to call it green interior design. And I know there's a big push for vegan leather out there, but I need to tell you, if you know anything about sustainable design, you can become LEED certified. The house can become different levels of LEED. It's governed by the USGBC, the Green Building Council of the United States. And vegan leather is absolutely not allowed in sustainable design or green design. Vegan leather is extremely toxic. It's petroleum based and chlorine based. And when it breaks down in landfills, it's even more toxic. So I would just ask you to just not use vegan leather. Leather is considered a sustainable product, and it is green. And so when we do design interior, we do use real leather. And I know it's an ethical issue for some people, but we are never going to, those of you who think it's an ethical issue, will never be able to eliminate the killing of animals for food. We've been doing it since the dawn of time. But I have a bigger issue when the whole animal is not used. And I have no problem using leather because I want to honor the whole animal. So some people, will toss it. I use bones. I wear bones. Bones are very powerful. I have the fur of a red fox. It is my spirit animal. If you heard my story, I consecrated it. I had it sleep next to me. I wear the bones of a red fox. I will wear bones of animals. They're very, very powerful. And it does get into some ethical issues, but there's so many cowhides that are made every day, and you can honor those animals and not have the hides end up in landfills somewhere. That to me is awful and heartbreaking. So I'd rather use the hides of these animals. So environmentally, it's better for the environment to use real leather. It's extremely bad for the environment to use vegan leather. So I just want to address that. And it's a hard issue to discuss with people but as a sustainable interior designer, I have read all the literature. I've seen how toxic vegan leather is. And so I have no issue. From time immemorial, we've used and honored the animals that gave us, or we took, if you want to see it that way, the skins for our clothing and shelter and to sustain us. And in the past, we honored these animals. And we don't do that anymore. So I get that part. And that's awful that we don't do that. But try not to use vegan leather or vinyl. So I just want to address that being a sustainable interior designer. Okay, so just if you can, basically the message of this video is to try to have handmade items around you. Try to have natural items. You see I have tons of nature around me. And especially on holidays, there's so many like traditional natural items that we can make to celebrate the holidays. And so I will probably have some videos instructing you how to make certain items for certain holidays, or what I do just to make things around me and to decorate with that are made of natural material. And a lot of them, I get the things for free on my walks. But again, I always leave something if I take something. So that's an important, if you ever do go and cut plants or herbs or anything from wild nature, I always leave something in return and I thank the plant. So I'll go over that, how to work with the earth when you're gathering objects. You know, there's always an equal exchange of energy. There's always a respect there. Okay, so that's it for today. So go make something out of nature and bring it into your home. And yeah, just surround yourself by more homemade things or things made by artisans. And it just gives a different feeling to your home. Okay, so that's it for today, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.